everybody. Welcome to the December 5th, 2018 Board of Selectmen's meeting. Time being 6:03 p.m., 6:02 p.m. Is anyone recording the meeting?
Free cams. At free cam.
Free cam standard times, thank you. I'll read the agenda. Board of Selectmen, public comment, consideration, and possible action on application for secondhand merchandise license for Excel Recycling, LLC. Executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting law may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Excel Recycling, LLC versus Town of Freetown. As you may remember, we met here a week ago Monday. We heard testimony from both the applicant, from the public, and we had questions for the applicant. With that being said, I would like to remind everybody this is not a public hearing. This is simply a selectmen's meeting, and we afford the opportunity to allow people to speak and or cut off any conversation at any point at the chair's prerogative. I'd like to also just read, for clarification, so everybody knows why we're here, the statute that relates to the secondhand junk handles license. It's Chapter 4, 140, Section 54. Section 54, cities and towns by ordinance or by law may provide for licensing by the Police Commission in Boston, by the Licensing Commission in Lowell, by aldermen in other cities, and by the selectmen in towns of suitable persons to be collectors or of dealers in, keepers of shops for the purchase, sale, or barter of junk, old metals, or secondhand articles, may make rules and regulations relative to their business, and may provide for the supervision of thereof. Said licensing board or officer may, except as otherwise provided in such ordinance or by law, make additional rules, regulations, and restrictions which shall be expressed in all licenses. Said licenses may be revoked at pleasure and shall be subject to sections 200 and 200 to 205 inclusive, except those societies, associations, or corporations organized solely for religion or charitable purposes, and their agents shall not be required to pay a fee for such licenses. So that is the licensing section of Mass General Law that speaks directly to the secondhand junk handle license that Excel Recycling is petitioning for today. That being said, I'd like to ask the board if they have any questions, concerns, or comments at this time.
I just wanted to get clarification from Attorney Rich, so I'm all set with that. So,
if you want to proceed, if you have anything to say or concerns or questions, this is the time for deliberation. So we heard testimony the other day. If there's anything you want to add to it or reflect on it, now's your time.
well, there's lots to say. I'll start with, we did the tour the other day, but the tour was not fully operational, so it was just a mere snapshot of just a facility not working and not operational. So there was no way for me to draw any conclusions that would have changed my mind in any way. I did although witness that there were visible holes and gaps between the stacked containers, including the sides, tops, and bottoms, which are supposed to be closed with whole foam insulation. That is actually in one of the documents that they were supposed to adhere to from DEP. So those containers are still not the way that they're supposed to be. And that was a concern before. It continues to be a concern now. Further, I did not see that the shredder residue was covered. So there was a pile there that's supposed to be covered. Again, that's a stipulation from DEP. That shredder residue was not covered. And as we were leaving, I was told that they were shutting down and everything was ready to go at the end of the night. Let's discuss the hours of operation. The last time we were here in this room, they mentioned that they were adhering to the 2007 permit. Well, I wasn't here in 2007 to give them a permit, so I'm assuming that they misspoke. I'm assuming that they were operating according to the permit and the shredder from DEP. But it's important to note that the operation that they're working on should not conflict, and according to DEP, should not conflict with the authority of the town of Freetown. And this is a very important stipulation, because when this board sets conditions on the license, they have completely ignored them. And that's contrary to what they are supposed to adhere to. So they continue to ignore everything that we have set forward. Let me just go over a list. Just in the mere since 11/19. They started before 8 a.m., still running 2 claw machines at 4:20, and appeared to shut down about 4:45, 5 o'clock. 11:10, Saturday, the grab and claw machines were still running at 11:45. Veterans Day, running the conveyor belts by 7 a.m., the claw and grab machines running before 7:30, and still running at 5 p.m. 11:13, running before 7:30 a.m., shut down after 5. 11:14, running before 7:30 a.m., shut down by 5. 11:16, running before 7:30 a.m. 11:19, running before 7:30 a.m. 8:18, a small explosion, and still running after 6:30, and then again still running after 6:45. 11:20, running before 7:30 a.m. and still running after 4 p.m. 11:21, running early before 7:30 a.m. 11:24, Saturday, grab and claw machines running very early. 11:26, running before 7:30 a.m., another small explosion. 11:27, 7:15 in full action, and 11:28, 7:15 in the morning and still in full action. The general conditions, including but not limited to smoke, dust, odor, noise, occur as a result of the operations, that they should take appropriate steps, including but not limited to abate this situation as to shut down. So they should be shutting down if any of those things become a nuisance. Well, contrary to a snapshot of a one-day look at the facility, the conditions continue day after day, week after week, and now month after month. Smoke. There is black smoke which is not steam and does not come out of the smokestack but comes out of the top of the facility itself. Debris, which continues to invade residents' homes and town roads. Odors and pollutants, which continue to infringe on the health and welfare of our town. I smell it every time I go there. I smelt it the day that you took us on the tour. Noise, from early morning until early evening, with erratic explosions that are unexplainable and which continue to spark without notice, and heed the business of our police and fire departments. So this is just a small snapshot and a small array of the continuation of how Excel operates, with the blatant inconsideration of the residents, the authority of the Board of Selectmen, and I just, in all good earnest, cannot go forward with anything right now. That's my deliberation to you. Do you have any response?
I do. I have a couple of things that I took from the testimony that was presented before us the other day. I do want to recognize that improvements have been made with sound conditions. Curtains have been put in place. That being said, we still have a sound test that was done in May that still shows that the northeast corner is above the 10 decibels set by DEP. Now, I know further testing has gone on since then, but when I asked directly from Epsilon if another sound test has done, he said they had not done an actual full sound test. They did do some sound tests in relative to dumping material into a box empty container and then putting in sound padding into the empty container. Whether that is or is not the cause of the decibels over the decibels that was reported wasn't in the report. As far as smells and visual sightings of what people believe to be steam or smoke exiting the shredder outside of the normal chimney that's there to collect a particular matter and vent it through that. I have in front of me a letter from an attorney, Mackey and Shea, PC, from May 7th, 2018, addressed to the DEP Deputy Regional Director Maria Pinard. In short, not to read the entire letter, but their questions were about the air quality sampling and how the air quality sampling was done. And some of the questions were the particular matter. The sampling objectives. The report states the effort was conducted in response to complaints that alleged visible emissions and oil odors. Unfortunately, there is no discussion or analysis in the report concerning visible emissions and odors. Likewise, there is no discussion as to how the sample concentrations of particulate matters, PMs, air petroleum hydrocarbons, AHPs, and toxic organics, TO14s, also known as volatile organic compounds, VOCs, related to the neighbors and the neighborhood, and the neighbors' complaints about visible emissions and oily odors impacting their properties and the use of the enjoyment of their properties. Visual emissions, observations, and odor sampling were not included in the sample program. Particulate matter. The report indicates the PM data was collected using a portable handheld device, a Thermo MI PDIR 1500. The Thermo Fisher scientific website did not identify a PDIR model, but did include the PDR instrument. The website site specifications for the PDR reveal that the particular size range of maximum response of 0.1 to 10 microns. The PDR instruction manual indicates that the instrument was optimized for measurements of the respirable fraction of airborne dust, smoke, fumes, and mist. The Thermo Fisher Technical Service Department advises that the instrument would not respond to particles larger than 12 microns. The report is misleading with respect to the PM concentrations, particulate matter concentrations. The report does not acknowledge that the analysts was only for the respirable fraction and not larger, 12 microns or larger. The result then are not for total PMs and do not provide information on the ambient air total PM concentration impacting the neighborhood. The increase in downwind PM concentrations are expected because of Excel's operations. However, we do not concur with the comparison of the impacts of 150 micrograms per square meter, PM 10-24-hour average, and AAQS for nuisance dust assessment, since the measured results include only a fraction of the total PM impacting the neighborhood properties. PMs greater than 10 microns, hydrocarbon mist, dust, fibers, foam, plastic, film, paper, etc., are not included in the analysis. Air petroleum hydrocarbons, APH, the 4 SUMA canisters identified in the phthalate C5 through C8, which is associated with gasoline. Mass DEP does not have a TEL for the group of compounds. In the in-feed material included drain cars and no gas tanks. The low concentration may not be representative of normal operations. Explosions that are experienced by the neighbors suggest that gas tanks were processed during the test. No gas tanks were processed during the test. Finally, there is no discussion in the report whether the compounds are contributing to the reported oily smells. VOC samples results at 9 Alexandra Drive detected benzene, toluene, PM xylene, and O-xylene. At 34 High Street detected toluene and PM xylene. And at Ridgeville Road detected benzene, carbon tetrachlorine, and toluene. All these compounds associated with gasoline were below Mass DEP TLOs. However, there is uncertainty whether the operations were respective of normal operations. In any event, the sampling demonstrates there are impacts on the properties. There is no discussion whether the compounds are contributing to the reported oily smells. So they go on to say, in conclusion, they believe that because the testing was flawed and the monitors they used were flawed, that's why they weren't picking up a lot of the oily smells and a lot of the particulate matters that were generated from crushing the cars and the things that would be producing these. As far as noise is concerned, the atmospheric conditions that occurred on that day is a variable. It was done on, the test was completed on a perfect day, sunshine, low wind, I believe it was less than 5 miles an hour to calm, back up to 5 miles an hour later in the day. those conditions have changed and do change on a regular basis. People report louder noises when the ceiling is lower, the altitude of the cloud deck is lower, the noise gets reflected off. There is no modeling that was included in that to suggest whether you're in compliance and those dates. So as far as the noise and the noise is concerned, and as far as the smells are concerned, I have issues with the reports that were given to us. Currently, at this time, we are still under NON from the Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Environmental Protection. So they're questioning whether the stormwater management system is working correctly with the oil separators. So you are still in an NON condition. There's still questions with the testing, and at this time, I might have to agree. So that's my interpretation and my concerns about the licensing. Any other questions or concerns, Lisa?
Oh, not this time.
All right, this time I'll call a vote. I need a motion. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to not act and to deny the application for a second-hand merchandise license for Excel Recycling.
So I have a motion. Since we have no third board member, I will second the motion. Motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion?
No.
I do have some discussion on the motion. I do want to recognize that Excel has made some progress and has taken some steps to help mitigate this situation. Unfortunately, I don't think it's enough at this time. This is the same issues we've had in the past. This is the same conversation we've had in the past. I've seen mention on the documents that council turned into us today at 2:50 p.m. in response to the testimony that was heard the other night about neighboring facilities, and those facilities went through a extensive permitting process through the through the planning board with the site plan review and special permit granting authority. Those were entered into after having a public comment period and after coming together with the property owners and working out the best solution for all members in hand. Unfortunately, this didn't go through that route. So we're here acting as a licensing authority with very little, as council admitted the other day, it's a very open-ended section of the law, a chapter of the law. So it gives us a lot of discretion. That being said, the third member of our board, Mr. Sullivan, has recused himself throughout this whole process, so it'll only be the two of us voting tonight.
Let me just further, that was definitely acknowledged by both of you at the first time you got your license from a board that is no longer in existence. You did say, and it is on camera, that you know that at any time the license can be taken away from you, and that you would do everything you could to ensure that that wouldn't happen and that you would be a good neighbor. But unfortunately, some things have fell short.
That being said, we have a motion made and seconded. Any other further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Abstain? Noes? Motion carries. Any other business before the board? Hearing none. Do we have anything to go into executive session for in relation to the pending case?
No.
We will not be going to executive session. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make motion to adjourn.
Second motion to adjourn. We have a motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor?